6 inches of snow barreling in this weekend. An Arctic blast right on its heels. And then the part nobody saw coming, severe weather season fires up early across a huge chunk of the country, all in the span of about 2 weeks. Near 100 degrees in southern Texas on the exact same day, Minneapolis is sitting at 32 with snow coming down. And I'll tell you what, that 68-degree spread tells you everything about what kind of wild stretch we are heading into. And here's the kicker, this weekend's storm is going to hit completely different from anything we've seen this season. Because it's not just the snow you need to worry about, it's the dangerous ice threat south of the snow line that has me the most concerned today. Right now, as you're watching this, severe weather is already ongoing across the southeast. The Storm Prediction Center has upgraded central Mississippi to a slight risk. That's a level 2 out of 5, and we are going to walk through exactly what that means for you. The hail threat is the biggest hazard today. 15% chance of quarter-size hail stretching from Monroe, Louisiana through the Jackson area and into far western Alabama. And on top of that, wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour are possible across north-central Mississippi into northwestern Alabama. Now, the tornado threat is less than 2%, and I don't want to overstate that, but that doesn't mean we rule out a rogue. Isolated. Brief twister. So y'all down there today need to keep your eyes peeled and your weather apps open. This line of storms has already been rolling through the Atlanta metro, back through Birmingham and Tuscaloosa, and into Mississippi, and these are not your garden variety thunderstorms. They can dump 1 to 3 inches of rain in a real short amount of time, which raises a minor flooding concern. As we get into tonight and into Friday's early morning commute, these storms push south through Montgomery, down toward Gulfport and Mobile, and then into southern Georgia and the low country of South Carolina. So if you're driving in those areas tomorrow morning, heads up, it's going to be a rough one. Meanwhile, up in Michigan's Upper Peninsula near Traverse City and Marquette, the flakes are flying right now. A little reminder that the Great Lakes hasn't completely let go of winter just yet, and Detroit is picking up about 0.4 inches of light snow as that same system grazes through. All right, now that we've got today's active weather on the table, let me shift you over to what this country is going to feel like tomorrow. Because Friday is a completely different story depending on where you live, and for some of you, it's going to feel like a whole different season. Chicago is going to be one of the warmest days of all of 2026 tomorrow, highs nearing 60 degrees, and I know after the winter y'all have had up there. That sounds almost too good to be true, but enjoy every minute of it, because Saturday brings a sharp temperature crash in the beginning of that winter storm threat. Des Moines is looking at around 65 degrees tomorrow before that Arctic front drops things into the 20s and 30s by Saturday, so if you're in Iowa. Tomorrow is what I call a 2-jacket day. You won't need it going out in the morning, but you sure will need it coming home in the evening. Down in Texas, it's a completely different ball game. Dallas and Fort Worth are sitting pretty at 68 to 69 degrees today, heading into the low 70s tomorrow. And southern Texas near Brownsville and Laredo is actually flirting with near 100 degrees this afternoon. Flat out sweltering down there. Houston is at 72 today, Austin at 72. San Antonio at 74, you're all in full spring mode. And that holds through tomorrow before that cold front comes knocking by the weekend. Enjoy it while it lasts, because the front is going to be sharp when it shows up. Back up in the Northeast, New York City is at 42 today. Still melting out over 20 inches of packed blizzard snow tomorrow, you warm into the mid-40s, which is a brief window of mercy before the weekend system closes back in on you. Boston is at 40 degrees, sitting on 25-plus inches of blizzard accumulation tomorrow. You get above freezing for a stretch. And my advice is simple. Get out and do whatever shoveling is left while you can, because there's more coming this weekend. Indianapolis is at 37 today with 0.3 inches of flurries. Tomorrow warms nicely into the 50s, which feels real good, but then Sunday into Monday. You are sitting right in the transition zone for this weekend storm, meaning you could end up with ice and sleet instead of clean snow. And that's the sneakier of the two. Kansas City is at 42 today with a touch of light snow tomorrow, pushes into the 50s, and then you are right in the crosshairs for this weekend system. Sitting smack in the middle of what the National Weather Service model blend is calling the highest confidence snow corridor. St. Louis is at 42 today, warming up nicely tomorrow, but then southern and central Missouri is the area I am watching most closely for ice accumulation. right where that warm air overrides the cold air and the precipitation type flips from snow to freezing rain. Nashville is at 48 today, climbing toward the lower 60s tomorrow and after the winter you all have had down there. 60 degrees in late February genuinely feels like a gift. Just know the weekend frontal boundary brings some showers back through. So don't completely put the umbrella away. Denver is at 48 and sunny today. Classic Colorado February climbing into the mid-50s tomorrow before that Arctic high starts dropping south out of the northern plains and pulls temperatures back down hard by Sunday, so the Rocky Mountain Front Range. You are not off the hook this weekend. Minneapolis and St. Paul are sitting at 32 degrees today, the coldest major metro in the lower 48 right now, picking up 0.6 inches of snow. And Saturday brings the Arctic blasts full force with teens and single digits possible by Saturday night. Bundle up, folks. This one is going to sting. Before we dive into the weekend storm details real quick, I want to hear from you. Drop your city in the comments right now. Tell me what it looks like outside your window. And let me know if there's a specific part of this forecast you want me to dig into for your area. All right. Now let's get into the weekend storm itself, because this is the one that has the most moving parts, the most uncertainty, and frankly the most potential to catch a lot of people off guard if they're not paying attention. Here's how it sets up Saturday. Moisture starts streaming over the Rockies, and a narrow corridor of light snowfall develops from roughly Chicago all the way back into Montana, right underneath that Arctic high pressure parked just north of North Dakota. Then, that Arctic high drops south through Saturday afternoon and into Sunday morning, and that is when this whole thing gets a whole lot more interesting. Because now you've got cold air pushing down from the north and Gulf moisture surging up from the south at the same exact time. By late Sunday morning into Sunday afternoon, the main event is in full swing. The storm goes from a light preliminary snow into a legitimate winter weather threat stretching from the Central Plains all the way through the Ohio Valley and up into the Northeast. The highest confidence zone for the heaviest snow, and I want to be clear, this track could still shift over the next 24 to 48 hours, is from around Kansas City, south of Des Moines, through central Illinois and Indiana, across most of Ohio, and then up through the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. We are talking several inches of snow, potentially 6 inches or more. For folks in that corridor, and keep in mind this is landing on top of areas that in many cases are already sitting on a foot or more of packed snow from the blizzard of 2026 just last weekend. Now, here is the part of this storm I need you to really sit with south of that main snow line, where the warm air overrides the cold. The precipitation type flips from snow to freezing rain and sleet, and that ice threat is the sneaky, dangerous part that tends to cause the most real-world damage. Southern and central Missouri, Kentucky, southern Indiana, southern Ohio. You all are in that gray zone right now where ice accumulation is a genuine possibility. And while we are not issuing an ice storm call today, that can absolutely change as this system comes into focus over the next day or two. Pittsburgh, you are right in the meat of that weekend snow corridor. Expect significant accumulation Sunday into Monday. So start thinking now about whether you want to move that car off the street Saturday night. Columbus and Cincinnati, both of you, are in the high confidence snow zone. The NWS model blend has called out Ohio repeatedly as one of the most locked in areas for this system. Cleveland and Toledo, same story. Wintry mix transitioning to snow Sunday morning. For the Northeast Boston, you've already got 25 plus inches on the ground, and another 4 to 6 inches this weekend is looking like a real possibility. New York City, you're looking at additional accumulation too, not blizzard caliber, but enough to make those icy streets from last week even more treacherous. Charlotte, Raleigh, and the Carolinas, you're on the southern fringe of this system, which means the track matters a lot for you right now. A wintry mix on the northern edge is possible, but that could change, and I'd keep checking the forecast every 12 hours through Saturday. And here is the thing that makes this storm genuinely different from everything else we've seen this month on Saturday. You could have a localized area sitting in the 40s, 50s, even 60s on one side of the frontal boundary, while Kansas, Missouri, and Illinois are sitting in the 20s and 30s, all within a few hundred miles of each other. That sharp temperature contrast is exactly what creates the icy transition zone when 60-degree air tries to push north against 20-degree air pushing south. The narrow band right in between is where freezing rain loves to set up. and that is the zone we are watching like a hawk. All right, storm details laid out. City forecast covered. Now let me pull back the curtain on something that not enough people are talking about yet. And this is honestly the part of the next 2 weeks that has me the most fired up as a weather watcher. Because right behind this weekend's Arctic blast, a massive pattern flip is coming for March, and when this thing rolls in, it is going to feel like someone hit the fast forward button straight into spring for most of the country. After the Arctic air pushes through this weekend teens and single digits in the upper Midwest through the Great Lakes Saturday into Sunday, we go straight into a moderating trend that starts building early next week and really takes hold by the first full week of March. We're going to melt a whole lot of the snow that's been piling up since January, and for you folks in the Northeast who have been buried under 3 feet of snow since early February. That thaw is going to feel like a whole different world. 2 weeks from now, and I want you to really sit with this, because after the winter y'all have been through, it's going to sound wild. Temperatures could be reaching the 70s as far north as North Dakota, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, and that kind of March warmth is not just good news, it is severe weather fuel. Here is what happens when you get that kind of warmth pushing north. This early warmer than normal sea surface temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico start pumping moisture up into the Midwest. Dew points rise fast. The atmosphere gets loaded up with energy. And that is the recipe for an early start to severe weather season. The GFS, the European models, and the Storm Prediction Center's extended tools are all flagging the same window, March 5th through approximately the 10th to 12th, as a period of elevated severe weather probability across a big section of the country. And that kind of model agreement this far out is something you don't see every week. The bullseye right now is from Texas up through Oklahoma, western Arkansas, eastern Kansas, and into the Ozarks of Missouri, but I'm also watching those triple point setups up in Iowa, northern Illinois, and Indiana, where the warm front, cold front, and dry line all come together. That is where the most dangerous storms tend to spin up. And it doesn't stop there. The European ensemble models show this severe weather pattern actually strengthening as we go deeper into mid-March, with a very strong low pressure potentially developing over the Four Corners region that would pull even more warm, moist air north from the Gulf, on top of the severe weather threat. Repeated rounds of heavy rain through the Mississippi Valley and the Ohio Valley are going to be a real concern during that first 10 days of March, and with the ground already saturated from all the snowmelt. Flash flooding becomes a legitimate risk that we have to keep on the radar. Now look, I know we just spent a lot of time talking about winter storms. And now I'm telling you we're about to flip straight into severe weather season, and I know that sounds like a lot, but that is just the nature of late February and early March in this country. And this year it looks like that flip is going to be faster and more dramatic than usual. So here is your straight up timeline for the next 15 days. Keep this in your back pocket, because things are going to move fast. Today, severe weather ongoing across Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia hail and gusty winds the main threats. Minor flooding possible in Alabama and South Carolina if you're in those areas. Stay weather aware through this evening. Tomorrow, Friday, one of the nicer days of the week for the Midwest and Ohio Valley, Chicago, near 60 Des Moines, near 65 temps in the 50s for Indianapolis, Kansas City. And St. Louis, this is your window to get things done outside before the weekend hits. This weekend, the winter storm develops Saturday. Intensifies Sunday widespread snow across the Central Plains, Ohio Valley, and Northeast, with 6 or more inches likely in the highest confidence corridor, dangerous ice threat in southern Missouri, Kentucky, and the Ohio Valley transition zone. This is not one to sleep on. Early next week, Arctic air locks in across the northern tier. Teens in single digits possible in the upper Midwest through the Great Lakes before a genuine warm-up begins to take hold heading into the first full week of March. March 5th through 12th. This is the window to circle on your calendar. Severe weather season fires up across Texas, Oklahoma, the Ozarks, the Ohio Valley, and potentially the mid-Mississippi Valley. And the models are in unusually strong agreement that this is coming. So, start paying attention now, not the day it happens. Tornado season is opening early this year. Folks, right now, before we hit that window, is the time to make sure you've got multiple ways to receive severe weather warnings for your specific county, and if you don't have a NOAA weather radio programmed yet, go get one this week. And if you've got older folks in your life, parents, neighbors, friends who maybe aren't following the weather closely, share this with them, because some of what's coming over the next 2 weeks is going to catch a lot of people off guard. One more thing before we wrap up: the mountains out west are going to keep stacking up snow through early March, which is great news for skiers and snowboarders who want one more shot at the slopes before the season wraps up. Seattle is at 48 with steady rain today. Portland at 52 with 0.4 inches. That Pacific moisture keeps flowing in through the first part of the week and up in the Cascades and Northern Rockies. We're talking several feet of additional snowpack building up, which is genuinely welcome news for the drought situation out west. Miami is at 78 today. Tampa at 76, Orlando at 78, and while the Sunshine State is living up to its name on the thermometer, the drought and wildfire concern across Florida remains very real. There is no meaningful rainfall in the forecast through early March, and that fire danger is not going anywhere. All right, folks, here's your final question before we go. Are you in the snow corridor this weekend and need to know if you should pre-treat the driveway Saturday? Are you in the ice threat zone trying to decide whether to work from home Monday? Are you in the southeast dealing with today's storms right now? Drop your city in the comments. Tell me exactly what you need to know, and I'll dig into the specifics for your area as the models sharpen up over the next 24 to 48 hours. Because this storm track is going to evolve, and you want to be the first to know when it does. The straight-up bottom line: severe weather today across the southeast. A significant winter storm with a real ice risk this weekend. An Arctic blast right behind it. And then the early return of severe weather season starting around March 5th. The next 2 weeks of weather in this country are going to be something else. The weekend storm track update drops in the next 24 hours. Make sure you don't miss it. Share this with somebody who needs to know what is coming their way. And we will see you in the next one. Stay warm out there. Stay weather aware. And look out for your neighbors.